Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Today we're going to be working on week 2 of the For Good Measure, and it is the Christmas tree block. There it is. And let me show you the fabrics. And if you are cutting out your white for week 2 and you did not do them all at the same time, your directions are up here at the top. You'll do them the same way we did it the first week. Here's the fabrics for this week. The first thing we're going to do, you got it, flying geese. You're going to take your fabric F, and I still have mine labeled. This is fabric F. We're going to go with that first to make our flying geese. And you're going to need 3-inch squares. You have 4 of these fabrics here, which means you need 8 of the little white ones. And let's go ahead and mark them. And I went ahead and I marked all of mine, and I went ahead and did it so that I could have that little half square triangle at the tail end. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but if you want, this would be the time to do it so that you can save time. If you need a leader ender because you have to start at this end, then get yourself one of those. I'm just going to go ahead and start here on the edge. I won't be on the point. I'm going to go ahead and chain stitch these. I think it'll be a lot faster. And then I go ahead and I sew the other side of the block, the one that's on the right hand side of the stitch line that I did, and I will go ahead and chain stitch these so that I'll have these little half square triangles when I'm finished. Now I'm going to clip all these apart, then I'm going to cut them. When I get done cutting them, I will iron them open, and then I'll show them to you. Now, just like our last week's project, when you get ready to sew, you want to check your needle for any burrs. Change it out if you have to. If you have been sewing quite a while and you have some little dust bunnies underneath your plate, take it and clean it out. It'll be a lot easier to sew that way. We're cutting these just like we did last week, except this time I'm correcting my measurements. If you followed through to the end of my last video, I showed you how I was off here with an example goose or geese block. Let me go ahead and iron these open now. 4 blocks like that. When you've got them all finished, let's put the other sides on of their wings. And I'm going to chain stitch this also. What did you guys think about that block last week? I thought that was pretty neat with those double trees like that. I haven't seen that. I've never sewn it, but it went together really good. Alright, I'm going to cut them apart and do just like I did before. I'll go ahead and get the other part sewn and iron it and cut it. Now you're going to have 4 that look like that, and we're going to take our 3-inch by 4-inch white strip, and we're going to lay one on the right and one on the left. Of course, all my stuff is in the way there. And we're going to sew that together. So let's now, when it comes to pinning this, I go ahead and just pin this like regular, but because of the distance, I'll go ahead and I'll pin the other side also. So both sides will be pinned. And then when you do this, you have a choice. This left-hand side here, on the second part that I pinned, is going to have a lot of bulk here at the corner. I'll show you here on the back side too. If I sew this side, and when I go to sew this one, you're going to flip it, and here's all that bulk. So you don't want to be going through all of that. Then flip it upside down and pin it this way, and sew it that way instead. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to sew, we're going to call it the easy side, the one that doesn't have the thickness. And we can use a leader ender for the other side if you'd like. And I'll show you that when I flip mine over. But I'll go ahead and I'll chain stitch all these. Oops, I think I had that one. I did. I had it backwards. Okay, well. There we go. Here's my leader ender. No bulking or anything. This is the one I had backwards. There we go. Turned out pretty good. Now I'll cut them all and then I will iron them and open them up. We'll take a look at them. We'll have 4 of those like that, and that's the first row. And now we're going to work on the second one. Now we're going to use our 3 by 7.5 inch strips, or rectangles, and we're going to use our 3 by 3 squares. We're going to mark these again, so go ahead and get them all marked, or however you do it, and then we're going to make partial flying geese. Alrighty, so I just had a ripping out party going on here because I sewed them incorrectly and didn't realize it till I cut my first one. So I'll show you what I did here. Here's what I ended up doing, which was totally wrong. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So I took them out. They go from the top, and this is how you're going to remember it. They both start at the top and they go down to the corners. So we want to make sure, let me back it up a little bit here, that they all get sewn like that. So you can see which ones I sewed, and then I had to cut another piece, and I've got a bit of my selvage in it at the bottom down here because I don't have enough of this fabric. The other fabrics I had plenty of, but this one I didn't. So I'm taking them all, I took them all out and I'm redoing them. You can see the ones that have been sewn, this one right here. And I had all that on film, so I had to take that off. So now I'm going to fix it. So make sure that you take your fabric and lay it on with each point is right next to each other down to the bottom corner here. So now I'm going to re-sew it. See, mistakes happen no matter who's doing it. Nobody's perfect. Well, I've never said I was perfect, but I'm going to chain stitch these. Go ahead and chain stitch all of yours. Then when you're done, we'll cut them apart and take a look at them. We're going to take a 3 by 3 and we're going to put on the right and the left like we did on the last one. So let's pin all that. Keep in mind, this is going to have a bumpy, one side's going to have the thick where your fabric is folded over and one's not. So if you need a leader ender, by all means, go ahead and get it. We'll just chain stitch all of these too. And sometimes when you've got a pin down there, it doesn't want to grab your fabric either. Which I'm not quite sure why that happens, but it does. Now I'm not going to cut them because there's only these 4. So I'm just going to start again. Now we'll cut them all apart and take a look at them. We'll iron them open. The last set were ironed outward, and this set is ironed. Just lift that up and iron it like that. So let me get that done. Now you'll have 4 that look like that. Okay, so I have marked, I did a practice piece here. I went ahead and I marked my fabrics. These are the 3-inch squares. Go ahead and we're going to sew these on. Then when we get done, we're going to take the 3 by 2.5 and we're going to put 2 on each side like that. So it will look like this when we're finished. And these strips equal 12.5 inches long. So every time I do one, I measured here on the table to make sure that it's coming out 12.5 inches. Let's go ahead and chain stitch these, and then we'll add those parts. All right, you want to go ahead and cut all these apart. I went ahead and I flipped them up, make sure they're correct. Do that so that you can see it. Then you won't have a mistake. I don't want anybody to have a mistake. I'm the one that needs to have the mistakes so that they can be corrected before you guys do it. And if you make a mistake and you don't have any fabric and you're using this out of your stash, or even if you're not, it doesn't make any difference. As long as you have enough of a color to make, for example, let's say that we made a mistake and we didn't have enough of this fabric left over. In that case, you need to get into your stash and get out some other fabric. Either make 4 strips and just make these different, or make 2 strips and make them different. It's your quilt. Nobody's going to know the difference. Maybe you want to change it up like that. Some people like to do that. Now I'm going to iron these. Ironed it towards the inside, and I went ahead and I put the ends on each side. So we're going to go ahead and sew that. After all those angles, this ought to be pretty easy. This is just straight line stitching. Just got to watch that bump when you get down to it, that's all. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the bump. Since I ended with the bump, then it's just about the same width of fabric. I won't have an issue with it. Alright, I'll get all this cut away from each other, and then we'll get it ironed open here. Take a look at it. Got 4 of those done, so now we're on to the next page. So now we're going to be using the last large strip. I should say long strip. This is 3 by 10.5. It's G. This is the really pretty fabric. I love this green fabric, and I do not like green. If y'all have been following my channel here, green is not my favorite. And I think it was from way back when they used to have the avocado furniture, the appliances for your kitchen, if you remember that. I could not stand that color, and my mother loved that color. And that's what our appliances were. The stove, the refrigerator, and we actually had a gas dryer in our kitchen back when I lived in Texas when I was growing up. Most of my growing up years anyway. Let's go ahead and we're going to mark all of the remaining 3-inch squares for this project here. I'm going to mark them like I've been marking them all along. And then when I get done marking them, we're going to attach them to the right side and the left side. We're making that partial geese again. So go ahead and do all that, and then we'll get these corners pinned and ready to be sewn. Alrighty, here we go. Now this will be pulling on your fabric while you chain stitch this. Just letting you know, because it's so heavy because of the length of the strip. If you've got a table like this where it falls off the backside. Just bring it around here, there's enough. Okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and cut that. Gotta figure it out here. Let's see. It needs to go from this side to that side to that side. There we go. Whoops. Now here's a prime example. I just put this one on backwards. But I just have to redraw my line, which is fine. I can do that. I'll go up here and iron the line off and redraw it. And then I'll sew mine from my half square triangles, and then I'll be back. So now we're going to use these little pieces that are 1.5 by 3 right here, and we're going to put them on each side, just like this, just exactly like that. So let's just pin both of those on all of these, and then we'll be ready to sew. All right, here we go with something easy again. All the straight stitching. Do some chain stitching too. Here we go. Almost to the trunk of that tree. Oops, it doesn't like my needle there. This is where your stylus comes in handy. Okay. And we'll just chain stitch these. Go ahead and finish them up. And then I'll be right back after I iron them. Got all 4 of those done, and now we're ready for the trunk. All right, you're going to take the B's, which are 2.5 by 2.5, which are 4 of those. You're going to take your 8 rectangles, which are 2.5 by 5.5, and we're going to sew them together. And you're going to sew it like this, like that, and like, whoops, like that. Sound easy enough? All right, let's pin it all together and we'll get going. Now, because these are 2 long strips going on a small one, I'm just going to do the small one first. You can do it on the brown side of your fabric or the white. It doesn't make any difference. I'm doing it on the white. And I'll just pin each one as I do it. Go ahead and chain stitch this entire side here, and then we'll flip it over. I'll pin the other side and we'll chain stitch it, and then we'll be back. I went ahead and I ironed these open just like I did on that last set because the browns had to go towards the brown. It's easier just to go ahead, iron it. And somehow I lost one of my little strips here. I counted them out and they were all laying here, and then when I went to pin them, I was missing one. I had to stop and cut one. I don't know what the heck happened to it. I have my fan on in here, so it might have blown somewhere. But that's okay. I had enough white to go ahead and make another rectangle. I just thought that was so odd. But that's not the first time some crazy things have happened in my sewing room. Remember that one time when I was looking for a piece of fabric and I couldn't find it and I just had it? And I looked all over for it and I looked up underneath this table right here and it had slipped between here. That was kind of funny that day. Alright, just about to wrap it up here and iron it. There you go, there's the 4 of them. So now we're going to build our tree. Right, so here's the first and the second row. Now none of the seams are matching up, as you can tell. But if you've measured every strip and they all equal that 12.5 inches, then all you have to do is put them like this and pin them from left to right, and they should fit. You don't have to be sizing them up or anything. Okay, so it should look like this. And we're going to go ahead and sew it. And I'm going to go ahead and connect the next two. So there I did the pinning, and everywhere there's a, let me flip it over for y'all. See, here's a seam right here. I put a pin. Here's one here. Here's one here. And here's one here. And then the end. And then I put some here so that this would not stretch while I was sewing it. So we're going to do those two sets right there, and we're going to sew them. We're going to go ahead and change it. All right, here we go. And you can't have too many pins because you really don't want any of this stretching on you, or your size is going to be different by the time you're finished. And if you feel like you're one of those people that need to do starching, then you need to get that done. And they've all got to be starched together. Don't starch part of them and then not the rest of them. Otherwise, they're not going to be consistent. Somehow I forgot a pin on that one piece right there, but it went through it okay. I'm doing this so we can make one block. And you can pin this any way you guys wanna. You don't have to do it this exact way. We're gonna iron it, and then we're gonna take a look at it. All right, here we go. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pin these two together like this, and so I pin this, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold this up, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to pin this on there. I've got that all pinned. Now we're gonna go over here and we're gonna sew both ends of that. All righty, here we go. Forgot my pin cushion here. Yeah. Now we'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. I feel like my pedal needs some oil. It's got some creaking going on. It's getting old. I took a look at it. I thought maybe it had some dust bunnies up underneath it or something, but it doesn't. It's clean. It's just got some moaning going on. Maybe it's finally getting comfortable down there. Alright, let's iron it and take a look at it. It's all finished. So now I just got to do the rest of them and get them up here on the design board for you guys to look at. There we have it. Week 2. All 4 of our trees. Let me back up a little bit. And I'm going to see you guys next Monday, the 18th of November, to do block 3 of the For Good Measure. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click on the little bell, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.